I'm going to read from a story in Bummer called 1966, and the escape theme will become clear at the very end of this section. Bummer is a book of fiction, except this story really is a thinly veiled memoir. And when it came out, it caused quite a stir with my family. My mother, who, well, you'll hear, there's a very unflattering description of the mother in this story in a bathing suit. She was very upset about that. And my father read the story and apparently was in a funk for half a day. And then my mother called me a couple weeks after the book came out and said, your sister read the story. She's very upset. She's unfriended you on Facebook. So this is 1966. It was the summer of the dead nurses and that sniper in Texas, and we were not allowed to walk on my grandparents' lawn because of the frogs. I was 9, growing up in the San Fernando Valley, a place not unlike my grandparents' yard, homelands for populations that had, for various reasons, exploded. In the Valley's case, it was with millions of children, the famous baby boom generation. And in my grandparents' yard, billions of tiny amphibians, refugees of that concrete eyesore known as the Los Angeles River. Our neighborhood in North Hollywood was flat and heavy with trees. In the summer, the air got dry and hot and dirty, and everywhere, in the leaves, on the driveways, and in our hair, was the faint smell of chlorine from all of our neighbors' pools. We didn't have a pool. It was one of those things my sister Evelyn and I would occasionally beg our father for, but he always said the same thing. We don't need a pool, we have the Houstons. The Houstons were our next-door neighbors and extremely generous with their swimming pool. We could use it whenever we wanted. Still, it wasn't the same as having our own. We knew this, our parents knew this. The difference was we cared, my sister and I. Our parents didn't. But then one night that summer, the summer of 1966, when our father seemed to be in a particularly bad mood, quieter and less connected than usual, we asked if we could please, please, please put a swimming pool in our backyard, and he stunned us by saying, "We'll see." My mother shot him a look across the dinner table. My father saw it, Evelyn and I saw it. It was a look that clearly asked, what is the meaning of this? We held our breath, waiting to see if our father was going to take back his words, but he went back to eating his short rib and staring out the window at our empty driveway. Our father had said, "We'll see," and "we'll see" was how it stood. Evelyn and I were joyous. We skipped around the house, we threw our arms around each other like conquering heroes, we kicked our legs out and sang the can-can. Our father had said, "We'll see." That doesn't mean yes, our teenage babysitter Bobby told us. She was taking care of us on a Saturday night and had her hair up in curlers, but her lips glowed beneath a sheen of frosted pink lipstick, and her eyes were surrounded by expertly painted black lines that continued out toward her temples in a Liz as Cleopatra look. Bobby had brought over her denim-covered notebook because she was supposed to do homework after Evelyn and I went to sleep. She was going to summer school because she had failed English, math, and Spanish in the 10th grade. And Bobby was depressed about going to summer school. She was depressed to be taking care of us on a Saturday night instead of being out on a date. She was depressed because her parents hated her, something Evelyn and I knew because Bobby lived next door in the house on the other side than the Houstons. And if we crouched down beside the window in our parents' bedroom, we could listen to her fights with her parents. "You hate me," Bobby would scream. And then we never heard either of her parents say a single word to dispute this. That summer, Evelyn had her passion and I had mine. At age 10 and a half, my sister became an obsessive Dodgers fan. She memorized the lineup, knew all the players' batting averages, the team's exact daily standing in the National League. She was a thin, dark girl and had such a wondrous smile, even a mouthful of braces could not dull its charm. To the outside world, she was sweet and shy, but I knew her true personality to be spiteful, manipulative, and mean. What my sister was beyond else was a killjoy. If anyone, especially me, was having a good time, she was masterful at finding ways to destroy it. But that summer, making me miserable wasn't really her top priority. Instead, she preferred to lie on her bed and listen to the Dodgers game on our transistor radio, cheering and moaning, strange, solitary sounds that should have been lost in a crowd, but weren't. My passion was also a lonely one. No one I knew was as obsessed with the murders as me. I read and reread every article in the LA Times, first about the poor nurses killed in Chicago, and then a couple of weeks later about the gunman in the tower at the University of Texas. I sat at my parents' desk and studied the photos in Life magazine of the sniper's attack in Austin, memorizing the exact position the co-ed affected beside the fountain in order to dodge the sniper's bullets, and laid under a tree in our front yard, imagining what it would have been like to be the lone surviving nurse, balanced on the ledge of the second-story window, calling out at dawn, "Help me, help me, help me. Everybody is dead. I'm the only one alive on the sampan." My mother looked terrible in bathing suits.
Oh, no.
Her legs, horribly knock-kneed, were all lumpy and riddled with varicose veins. She was small-breasted, and the points of her padded bathing suit sagged slightly. And despite the suffocating girdle-like material that struggled to hold her in, give the appearance of tautness, the illusion of control, her abdomen protruded stubbornly. My mother, at age 33, would plan another diet, vow to eat more newts and cottage cheese, forsake sugar for saccharin, tune into Jack LaLanne more religiously, and then, knowing she looked terrible, would throw on a short shift and bravely escort me and my sister out the back door, down the driveway, onto the street where anyone could see her, and then quickly up the Houston's driveway, where we would pass through the gate hung with the sign, "We don't swim in your toilet. Please don't pee in our pool." My mother didn't know how to swim. What she would do was kind of glide from the shallow to deep end, keeping her head so high the bottom of her bubble dew never touched water. Evelyn and I took lessons. We knew how to swim, at least better than our mother, but that summer I too swam mostly with my head above the water. I did this because I was secretly on watch, scanning the rooftops of the homes around us, looking for snipers. Afraid to go under, afraid that once I gave up the vigil, once I let go of my fears and allowed myself to enjoy the cool, calm quiet below the pool's surface, I was risking becoming yet another direct hit. My father started to bring home brochures from pool companies, and after dinner, Evelyn and I would crowd around his chair and look at the beautiful color pictures of sparkling swimming pools, admiring the different shapes, rectangular, oblong, and the ever-popular kidney. The one I wanted had a kind of free-form shape with fake sparkly lava-like rocks and a waterfall. We both wanted a diving board. We both wanted a slide. My father wouldn't let us touch the brochures. He held them just out of our reach and then carefully refolded them before putting them away in a special pocket in his briefcase. "Do you think we're really going to get a swimming pool?" Evelyn and I would ask our mother during the day when our father was at work and she was ours, something that she wasn't quite when my father was around. "I don't know," she'd answer, and shrug her shoulders and then keep them around her ears for a really long time. Because of her bad grades, Bobby was being kept on a short leash that summer, and she was forced to hang around her house a lot. When her father was out, she sat on her back porch and smoked cigarettes, and Evelyn and I would go over and sit with her, happily breathing in the sour smoke that she exhaled with admirable expertise for a 15-year-old girl. "You're not getting a swimming pool," she said sullenly after we had finished telling her all about the pictures in the brochures, describing the intricate curves in our favorite slide, and drawing with a stick in the dirt the leading shape of the swimming pool of the moment. "But Dad said we are," we told her, stretching the truth a little. "Your father is messing with your heads," she told us, and took a last drag of her cigarette, exhaling a thick plume of smoke into our waiting faces. We didn't like to contradict Bobby. We knew she didn't like us, and we didn't want to do or say anything that would make her dislike us more. So we watched silently as she stamped out her cigarette with the heel of her flip-flop. "Hey, Bobby," I said, trying to stall her for just a few more seconds before she disappeared inside her house. "What?" She looked at me impatiently. I said, trying to think of something interesting to say, something that might even endear me to her a little bit. "Are they saying hang on stupid in that song or hang on Snoopy?" Bobby sighed and without a word walked inside, shaking her head at what truly pathetic creatures Evelyn and I were. The back door slammed shut, leaving us sitting on the Edelstein's back steps for a few minutes before we realized what a weird place it was for us to be, and that Bobby's mother could drive up at any second, and then we would have to say hello to her, something we hated to do because basically all grown-ups scared us to death. What I found somewhat heartening was the fact that the one surviving nurse escaped being murdered by hiding under the bed. That had always been my plan when the murderer came to our house to kill our family, and I was pleased to learn it was proven to be a successful one. "Why would someone do it?" I asked my mother, and she shook her head and answered, "There are crazy people out there." This answer gave me no comfort. Crazy was a wild card. Crazy was random. Crazy was bad luck. The poor couple looking at engagement rings in the jeweler's window when they were struck down by the sniper's fire in Austin, bad luck. The 3 nurses who returned home from their dates while the murderer was still in their house, bad luck. Bad luck. It could happen to anyone. It could happen to me, and there was no escaping